Is the news ever going to stop? I hope not. I hope not. The NFL offseason has been the absolute craziest, unpredictable that I think I have witnessed as long as I've been a NFL fan for. Ladies and gentlemen, there was an absolute huge trade last night. I think probably everybody has seen it by now. But this is absolutely great. The NFL offseason, the NFL offseason is always good. But how it's been this year with what we've seen with trades, signings, mix everything together. And it has made for a very fun offseason. A lot of times what we see, we don't see nearly the amount of trades we have seen this offseason. The amount of trades we have seen is absolutely insane. The quarterback carousel, some trades straight up one for one player. The trade we saw last night involving Davante Adams going to the Raiders. Absolutely wild, man. Absolutely wild. And as a football fan, this is what you want to see. You know, I love that the MLB, when the MLB lockout ended, you had all the MLB analysts, oh, fasten your seatbelts, buckle up, it's going to be a free agency frenzy, and we got nothing for like 3 or 4 days, and now you have the NFL just absolutely taking over when free agency started, and nobody cares about MLB. MLB effed up this offseason, NFL's taking it by storm. What else do you expect? The NFL is just a monster of its own, man, and I swear, I'm checking my Twitter like probably every like 20 minutes just because as a Steeler fan, they've been pretty active, but just seeing what's going on because of how wild it's been. I mean, I'm not usually on my phone like that. Or heck, I mean, even on Twitter, if I'm checking Twitter every 5-10 minutes, depending on the circumstance. But what else do you expect? NFL free agency has been absolutely awesome. And as a sports fan, this is what you want, you know, where there's always something going on. You're in the know. You're checking things constantly. The news is just an overabundant, it's just like, it's like a waterfall. It's just an outpour. You love it. You love it. You love it. But there's a lot of news that I want to talk about on the show, from free agent signings to trades that have happened to possible trades that can happen on this show. But this is In Hindsight, episode 56. Ladies and gentlemen, happy Friday to each and every one of you. I know that a lot of times this is one of the best days of the week for all of us who do not work on weekends and are done with work. So, happy Friday, everybody. I know you're all ready for the weekend. Thank you, each and every one of you, for taking the time out of your Friday or out of your weekend whenever you decide to watch this show. I did upload yesterday. I just wanted to strictly talk about Steeler free agency. If you're into that, check that out on my channel. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. I want to just kind of roll right into it, folks, because who knows when the next big thing's going to hit next. Excuse me. But I'm going to start off with this Davante Adams trade, man. The Davante Adams trade hit at about pretty late last night. I want to say maybe around 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. That trade hit. And when Davante Adams was scheduled to be a free agent this offseason, he already told Green Bay he was not going to play under the franchise tag. What happened, Green Bay franchise tagged him. And I was probably thinking, you know, they'll probably work out a contract. Green Bay will tag him. They'll work out a deal. But it seems like when this trade happened, it was maybe something, okay, maybe Green Bay didn't have the money that Davante wanted. But as it's come out, is that Green Bay offered, in terms of a contract extension for Davante Adams, just as much, maybe more, than what the Raiders are giving him. But Davante Adams was just kind of fed up with the front office, knowing that they tagged him, them kind of delaying, giving him an extension, especially for how great of a player he is, and he wanted out, and he wanted to go play with his former quarterback in Fresno State in college, Derek Carr, and be a part of the Raiders, and that's what happened. The Raiders are having a really solid offseason, man. Bringing in a guy like Chandler Jones to add to the defense. They trade for Colts cornerback Rock Ya-Sin. He's going to be a big element for them in the secondary. And then you bring in the best wide receiver in the NFL. The Raiders aren't messing around. The Raiders made the playoffs last year. They bring in Josh McDaniels as head coach. He's had a good offensive mind with New England for all these years. Huge, absolutely huge move, and they give him a deal worth, how much was it? It was like $140-some million deal or something like that. He's getting paid $28 million over the next 5 years or so. So that was the big breaking news, and this definitely makes the AFC West so interesting, man. The AFC West has already been crazy this offseason. Kansas City. They're Kansas City. The Chargers. The Chargers make a deal trading for Khalil Mack, signing J.C. Jackson. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody. They re-signed Mike Williams to a big contract. I feel like there's somebody on the Chargers defense I'm forgetting that they acquired. Let me know in the comments. But the Chargers are a team that's looking to get over that hump. You got a young top 5 quarterback in Justin Herbert. He is come into the league and emerged as a very young, promising quarterback. A guy that can be your quarterback for 15 plus years. They got a plethora of really good offensive weapons. And they have a defense now led by Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson. Derwin James was healthy last year. A young Asante Samuel Jr. Things are looking up. Denver acquiring Russell Wilson over a week and a half ago. Huge deal there. They give up multiple draft picks. We all know about this. You bring in a guy like Russell Wilson. They sign Randy Gregory to a 5-year, $70 million deal. They have a young secondary. And then you have what the Raiders are doing. So this AFC West division, I mean, whichever one of these 4 teams finishes in last, I mean, that alone just tells you how solid and how great that division is. That's already looking on paper the best division in the NFL. And it's gonna be a race. It's gonna be a race. Kansas City better watch out. They've won the AFC West the last 6-7 years. They better watch out. They better watch out. With this Davante Adams trade, it's interesting with Aaron Rodgers because Aaron Rodgers signs a 3-year, $150 million deal, whatever. He's going to be getting $50 million pretty much almost per season. So he gets his bag, right? He gets his money. He goes back to Green Bay. And then this trade happens. It was being reported that Rodgers was in on that Adams could possibly be moved. I would love to see his reaction. But this is setting up Green Bay. I mean, Green Bay did bring back Devondre Campbell. Probably going to extend some guys. But losing Davante Adams is big. And I expect Green Bay to probably look in the market and free agency. They did acquire this year's first-round pick and a second-round pick from the Raiders. That's it. I mean, you talk about being fleeced. You would imagine they would draft a receiver. Maybe they draft another quarterback, considering their track record. But to me, Green Bay will still probably be the favorite to win their division. But you talk about a massive blow. I mean, this Packers team does not look as good as what it was last year. Though they lost in the first round of the playoffs or divisional round or whatever. This does not look like the team as it did last year. They lose to Darius Smith as well. They have some cap fluctuation, but we know the cap is fake anyway. It's not really looking that great for Green Bay right now, man. I've seen they're interested in Julio Jones for what? The guy's 33 years old. He's not really that good anymore. Great career. Number one, I mean, for such a stretch of years, I mean, he was viewed as the number 1, number 2 wide receiver in the NFL. Hall of Fame numbers. But the thing is, a lot of times when receivers just kind of start creeping into those early 30s, man, it's just, sometimes they're still not bad, sometimes they're still good, sometimes they're just not good. That's just how it is, but I've seen reports on that. I don't know, if I'm a Packers fan, I would obviously be upset, disappointed. Hopefully they can make some moves in free agency to still kind of keep themselves afloat in terms of offense. But they ain't looking as good as what they did last year, I'll tell you that right now. Going on to the quarterback carousel that we've seen in the NFL this offseason. I don't ever recall this many quarterbacks changing scenery. Rodgers staying, yes, but we see Russell Wilson traded to Denver, Carson Wentz traded to Washington, Jimmy Garoppolo, we're still waiting on him possibly being moved, Deshaun Watson still making up his mind. Wherever Watson goes, that quarterback will be gone. The situation with the Browns, I'll get into it in a minute, but Baker Mayfield requesting a trade. Where is he going to go? Wherever he goes, that quarterback might be on the move, depending where he goes. I'm trying to think of, I feel like I'm missing a couple other quarterback moves. Who am I missing here? I feel like I'm missing somebody. Look at the NFC West, no. NFC East, no. NFC South, obviously Brady coming out of retirement again. Matt Ryan's obviously a wait and see to see if Deshaun Watson leaves. I mean, the Saints, they might just bring back Jameis Winston. I believe for the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes, it's down to Atlanta and New Orleans. NFC North, no. AFC North in terms of guys being moved, like we just said, Baker. AFC West, we said Russell. AFC East, no. AFC South, no. Yeah, so, it's been, because first and foremost, you don't see trades like this in the NFL, regardless, really in the offseason or the trade deadline. You just don't see a lot of that happen. This offseason, there's been so many, and there's more to come. But when we look at the quarterback carousel, let's start off with Russell Wilson at Denver. Denver has always kind of been really they just cannot get the quarterback situation right. After Peyton Manning left, they cannot get it right, drafting the likes of a Paxton Lynch, a Drew Lock, bringing in a Teddy Bridgewater, starting Trevor Siemian for a couple years after Manning left. They cannot get it right, and they have to go out of their way. Denver's one of those teams that will sell everything to get a quarterback, and we've known this for the last X amount of years. So I am truly not surprised that they sold a lot for Russell Wilson. They really pretty much have kind of been a quarterback away because they've had solid guys on defense. They have a good young core offensively, and they've just kind of needed that quarterback to get everything to click, and Russell Wilson's a guy that can do that. Russell Wilson hasn't really been that good the last couple years. He's going into age 33, but I still think he's a borderline top 10 quarterback in the NFL. He's had a really good career up to this point. So I think with Russ, he definitely makes Denver better. He definitely makes Denver a team that can finally compete in that division, a playoff caliber team. I don't know if I want to say Super Bowl caliber team yet, but he definitely makes them a playoff caliber team, and he can make them a deep run type of team as well. Going into Carson Wentz getting traded to Washington. Carson Wentz, after that 2017 season where he had that MVP season and got injured, and then Nick Foles led the Eagles to the Super Bowl, he hasn't been good. He hasn't been good at all. He's been average at best, mediocre at best. And last year with Indianapolis, he really wasn't even, when you look at certain numbers, he really wasn't that bad, but he didn't do enough to get them over the hump. They had enough talent to be a really strong team, and he couldn't get them there. And he's got a big contract, so the Colts move off him, send him to Washington. Washington, again, I feel like it's a similar situation like Indy. They got talent on defense. They got some guys you can work with offensively. You got a guy like Ron Rivera. Frank Reich's a good coach. Ron Rivera's a good coach. I feel like this is really Carson Wentz's last chance in terms of being a solidified starter in the NFL. Other than that, if he doesn't work out Washington, he's just going to continue to be a journeyman, and he's just going to be a Teddy Bridgewater. Bridge quarterback, not viewed as really a starting caliber type guy to rely on. So Washington is getting a guy like him who Wentz does have a strong arm. He does have guys to work with, and Antonio Gibson, Terry McLaurin. They'll probably draft some guys. Curtis Samuel, we'll see if he's healthy or not. He's got a defense on the other side of the ball, though. They were disappointing last year, but still. Logan Thomas, we know he got hurt, but he's kind of emerged as a young tight end. So time will tell on Carson Wentz. But Washington was in on Watson. They were in on Watson didn't want to go there. Russell Wilson, they declined that. Seahawks declined that trade. So they figured we got to go out and get a quarterback because they feel like, again, they're kind of a quarterback away from being a competitive team. And maybe they are, but is Carson Wentz that answer? Probably not. So time will tell what happens there. Jimmy G, where's he going to go? Jimmy G was linked to teams like Indy, Pittsburgh going into the early offseason. Now that Pittsburgh's already kind of got their quarterback, really the only quarterbacks left for him, or the teams, you still got Indianapolis, Seattle. With the Cleveland Browns situation, could Cleveland make a trade for him? Will Jimmy G end up staying in San Francisco? It's possible. It's possible. So I don't know. I think, and again, Jimmy G's one of those guys that's an average quarterback, but when he has talent around him to work with, he utilizes that talent well. So I think if he goes to a good team, or to a team that's kind of built to win right now, he can thrive well there. He can win games. I mean, he's not a stupid quarterback, but he's an average quarterback. So if he goes to a team like Indy, he's got some things to work with. I think they got to add a little bit more offensively. If he goes to a team like Cleveland, they got a lot to work with. I mean, Cleveland has talent on their roster, but they're just a mess of a franchise. And always have been. Always will be. Just how it is. If you're a Cleveland fan, I mean, I know you've accepted that. You got to keep accepting that. So Jimmy G, who knows where he's going to go? He's still on the quarterback carousel. It's an interesting situation with these quarterbacks. I mean, you look at a team like Carolina, they were in on Deshaun Watson. Watson crossed them off his list. I don't see them sticking with Sam Darnold. I mean, they could. But I think it's probably more than likely they probably draft a quarterback. I could see Kenny Pickett going at 6. I could see them maybe drafting a quarterback in the second round. But you see, Carolina's not in that good of a spot right now either. They still have a little ways away. They got some young talent there. Not too crazy about their coach. They've kind of been a disaster ever since the Cam Newton days. Like, they just haven't been able to figure anything out. So I don't really see them much on the quarterback market either. You look at a team like New Orleans, they don't land Deshaun Watson. I think Jameis Winston's probably their best answer. He's been there. He was having a nice year up till he got hurt. They could always draft a quarterback somewhere in this round early on. I don't know. I don't know. When you look, I mean, and then Seattle, you look at Seattle, them acquiring Drew Lock in the Russell Wilson trade. Pete Carroll says that they like Drew Lock ever since he came out. I think some of that's kind of smokescreen and just trying to stay positive about your locker room, about your player. Will Drew Lock start in Seattle? I don't know. But Seattle's kind of been on Baker Mayfield when he requested a trade. Seattle's been on Matt Ryan with Atlanta possibly landing Deshaun Watson. Could Seattle draft a quarterback in the first round? It's possible. It's possible. Seattle could possibly have a solid offensive line this year if they bring in Trent Brown. Their defense is very skeptical. I mean, their defense sucks. Seattle's in a situation, man, where during their time as what they were building to with Russell Wilson, they had the Legion of Boom, all those boys there. They had good sustainability with that. But after they moved off some guys moved on, everything like that, they still had a few years where they were a good team, but they weren't a Super Bowl team. And now at this point, it might take a little bit. I don't think Seattle's one of those franchises where it's going to take years and years like some others out there to get to the point where you want to get to. But it might take a couple years, 2-3 years, depending on how they execute it. And so if Atlanta lands Deshaun Watson, Matt Ryan will have to be on the move. I think a team like Indianapolis the last 5 years has had 5 different quarterbacks. You bring in a guy like Matt Ryan with what they have, how much better are they? How much better are they if they bring in Matt Ryan and compare that to how they were with Carson Wentz last year? I don't think they're that much better. Matt Ryan's had a good career. He's been a staple there in Atlanta since he got drafted, 2007, 2008. But Matt Ryan's getting older too, and he's not as good as what he was. Now, he might not be as stupid as he was, or let me rephrase that. Might not be as stupid as sometimes maybe Carson Wentz could be. But I don't really think it makes Indianapolis that much better of a team. So he's another guy to be on the move. The quarterback carousel has just been a circle. Literally, it's been a legit carousel with guys on the move, things like that. Let's switch over to Cleveland. The Cleveland situation's a complete disaster. And all you have to know about their franchise, I mean, we all know this. As football fans, we know how garbage Cleveland is as a franchise. We know how poverty they are. And that's not me crapping on them because I'm a Steeler fan. That's just the reality of it. They draft Baker Mayfield in 2018. People are hoping this is finally the guy because they just have not been able to get one for so long. Baker Mayfield has a pretty good rookie season, and it's kind of been up and down since then. He had a bad year last year. He was injured a lot. But anyway, Cleveland enters the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes as a sleeper team, and they meet with Watson. It's been reported that they didn't keep Mayfield in on the no. And Baker, just in the sense of like, look, I played all season with a torn labrum. I played all season all banged up, and I was drafted to be your guy. I helped take you to the playoffs and win you a playoff game. Disrespect, lack of communication, things like that probably turned him off. And seeing that they're going all in on Watson, they're not really communicating with him, keeping him on the no, according to what's being reported about it. I don't blame him for requesting a trade. And plus, why would you want to stay there? Cleveland it's funny because Cleveland, the last, I would say not this offseason, the last 3 have been crowned paper Super Bowl champions, and it only resulted in one playoff win. Well, first it resulted in a 6-11 record. Then it resulted in then it resulted in a playoff berth and a playoff win. One playoff win. And then last year resulted in finishing third under 500. It's just it's how they are, man. Cleveland's got good talent. They do. But when you don't have the structure, when you're dysfunctional, when you keep guys around the organization that are a part of that dysfunction, you're not getting anywhere. Poor franchises most of the time will always stay that way. It's just how it is. It's just how it is. Unless you can bring somebody new in, you can overhaul a staff that finally bring that, you're always going to stay that way. And that's how Cleveland's always been. Terrible owner. I like Stefanski, but they haven't been able to get coaching right. They haven't been able to get personnel right. They haven't been able to get player development, quarterback right for years and years and years. And finally, once we start hitting 2018, 2019, they finally start to do that. 2020, they get to the point that they were wanting to build that to. And now and that lasted 1 year, and now you're pretty much back to square one where you're a dysfunctional mess. So going in on the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes, risking it all, risking your quarterback's morale, and everything like that. Deshaun Watson crosses you off the list, you swing and miss, and now you're losing your current starting quarterback. Where are you going to go from here? Where are you going to go? Do you trade for Jimmy G? Do you trade a mid-round pick for Jimmy G? Do you trade for a Matt Ryan? Do you draft a quarterback? I don't know. But Cleveland is back to square one, and if you're a Browns fan, I don't know how you're not pissed off about it. I don't know how you're not pissed off at Jimmy Haslam, pissed off at the organization, or you can sit back and say, this is fine, because it's really not. It's really not. And it's too bad, too, because Cleveland, the fans have been waiting for, you talk about loyalty, they've been waiting, And now here you are again, back to square one. No quarterback, dysfunction. If you're a Browns fan, you got to be pissed. Got to be pissed. So I think Cleveland will probably go the route, considering they look at their squad. I think they go the route of trading for a quarterback. Maybe they bring in Jameis Winston or something like that for a couple years. They're better off to move off Baker Mayfield, man. And the reason why, Baker Mayfield is really what he's shown so far in Cleveland. He's an average quarterback. You don't want somebody there that doesn't want to be there, that doesn't have the passion or the heart to compete for your organization anymore. It doesn't really seem like he has that. He said that things are just unrepairable. It's better both sides move on. I think they do trade him. I think they probably move him to Indy. Seattle, I don't really see the need of Seattle trading for him. If you're Seattle, you're probably better off maybe drafting somebody, going with a low-key guy until you kind of build yourself back up. But with Baker, I think it's best in his interest to move on, get a fresh start somewhere. Cleveland, same as well. If you're Cleveland, Baker's not going to get you anywhere. He's not. He's an average quarterback. That's how it is. Cleveland also making a move for Amari Cooper. I thought was a good move because they kind of need that receiver. They gave up, a 5th-round pick for him? It's a pretty good bargain by me. Now, he did get a big contract, so they take that on, but he's still got 3 years left. They released Jarvis Landry, so they're definitely going to draft a receiver in the first round, most likely. I still like guys they have defensively. Like, they do have talent, but it's like you can have that talent, but if you're dysfunctional, you don't have that structure, it doesn't matter. It's not going to get you anywhere. And Cleveland's not the only organization that's like that. There's there's a handful of others that have been that way for quite a long time, and it doesn't look like it's changing. That's just the reality of it. So it's a really kind of crappy situation if you're a Browns fan. They go all in, balls to the wall on trying to get Deshaun Watson, pretty much neglect their... hold on one second. Why is that doing that? There we go. They pretty much neglect the morale and the effect that this is going to have on their current quarterback. Maybe even they might have just been moving off of Baker Mayfield anyway, and they were like, you know what, screw it, dude. Like, we're moving off anyway. But I think they will trade him eventually once they can get that answer to who their next guy is going to be. I think they will. Right now they won't because they don't have that replacement, but I think they will. But if you're a Browns fan, I mean, you obviously got to be pissed. But Browns are the Browns, man. It's how it is. It's how it is. It's how the organization has pretty much always been and will continue to be. So that's just how it goes. I want to go over some free agent signings. I'm not going to go over every single one, but I want to go over some that were, I want to go over some really important ones and kind of look at the winners and losers so far for agency. So we see Von Miller the other day, a couple days ago, signing a 6-year, $120 million deal to Buffalo. Von Miller, it was speculated he could possibly go back to Denver. He could re-sign with the Rams. They were interested, but he gets a huge bag. Another max contract, his second max contract of his career, which, I mean, that's a big deal. He's 33, 6-year deal that will take him to 39 years old at the end of the day. But Buffalo, to me, Buffalo definitely needed somebody like this on their pass rush. I mean, Von Miller, yes, he's 33, but he's still a beast. He's still dominant. Definitely future Hall of Fame type of guy. With Vaughn, I feel like Buffalo was a little desperate, though, in the sense of, like, we need that guy, right? We need that guy on our defense. Now, Buffalo had, I believe, the number 1 ranked defense last year. They were really good defensively. But now they needed that extra pass rush, and you get a guy like Von Miller. So, yes, that definitely adds to them. It's definitely a great move. I feel like they were just a little bit desperate in the sense of needing that, right? So, but good move on Buffalo. Like I said, we covered J.C. Jackson. He gets a 5-year, $82.5 million deal from the Chargers. Huge bag for him. Easily a top 5 cornerback in the NFL, and he'll probably fit in like a glove with the Chargers. I really like what the Chargers are doing. I think that they definitely get over the hump this year with where they're at, because last year they didn't do it. The year before, Justin Herbert's rookie year, they didn't do it. I think this is the year they get over that hump, finally become a playoff team. Don't know how far they'd go, but I like what they have set up. Now, I see Christian Kirk right here. Okay, Christian Kirk, this is typical Jacksonville. Jacksonville has spent probably more money than any team so far in free agency. They've probably made more moves than any team. This is what they do every year. This is what Jacksonville does every year. Now, I'm not saying every move they made is bad. I like what Jacksonville did, bringing in Doug Peterson to pair with Trevor Lawrence. Jacksonville still has a ways. Some of these signings I think are fine. But this is what they do every year. They always have cap room, and they just go spend galore because they can't draft on their own. That's got to change. That has to change. But they signed Christian Kirk. They needed speed at receiver. They didn't have it. They bring in Christian Kirk, who has been, I think really he's a 3 guy on most NFL teams. But he's got speed. They give him a 4-year, $72 million deal. Could be up to $80-some million with incentives. They bring a guy like him in. They also brought in a few other guys, which I will get to. But this is what Jacksonville does. Spending spree. Hopefully guys work out. Can't develop guys on your own. That's got to change. We mentioned Randy Gregory. Baltimore, with their offseason, I feel like they always, a lot of times, have good off seasons. Now, they don't just go out and make move after move after move, but they make solid moves. They make moves that fit a lot. So they bring in Marcus Williams. They needed help at safety. Deshaun Elliott's ass. I don't care what you say. He's probably out the door. You bring in a guy like Marcus Williams, 5 years, $70 million deal. He's gotten better each year with the Saints. He's probably that borderline top 10 type of safety in the league. He's only 25 years old right now. He's definitely going to fit in well with that secondary. And then they also signed Morgan Moses, right tackle, which they needed. They had a depleted offensive line last year. You bring in a guy like him who's been very durable, doesn't get injured, 3-year, about 50. How much was it? How much was his contract? I want to say, was it like I believe it was like a 3-year, $15 million deal. I don't see it on here. Let me see. Let me go to tackle. I believe it was about a 3-year, $15 million deal. Let me see if this will load. Hold on. All right, well, anyway, okay, there we go. Yeah, $3 or $50 million. Durable, solid guy. You know, he's not this Pro Bowl, all-pro type of tackle or anything like that, but he's always been a solid tackle throughout his tenure in the league. Doesn't get injured, and I think that's really what Baltimore wants. You got a guy like Ronnie Stanley who you have a lot of money attached to. You still have Kevin Zeitler. They bring back Macari, who knows where he'll play, maybe center. You have a few guys that can compete at guard, some young guys, and you bring in a guy like Morgan Moses. That's definitely what you want to see if you're a Ravens fan. You should definitely be happy about that. They were going to sign Zadarius Smith, but he backed out of the deal. That would have been a great sign for their pass rush. He backs out. They bring back defensive tackle Michael Pierce on a 3-year contract as well. I think like 3-year, $20-some million deal or whatever. Probably says the end of Brandon Williams' tenure in Baltimore. But Baltimore, They've had a solid offseason. I like what they've done. They've only made a few signings, but I like what they've done. They've been key signings. They've been solid. They've been in areas of need. Their pass rush needs help. Their linebacker group still needs help. I see them doing some of that in the draft as well, but that's what you needed if you're a Baltimore fan. Now, we also we talked about the Raiders briefly with Chandler Jones, $3 or $51 million deal. I have no idea what the Cardinals are doing. You talk about losers in the offseason, and I'll get to it. No idea what they've been doing this offseason. Absolutely terrible. They've brought back a few guys of their own, like James Conner and stuff like that, but I'll get to that later. Brandon Scherff was another guy that went to Jacksonville at offensive lineman at 3 years, $49.5 million deal. He, let's see. So it looks like his cap hit this year is only $7-some million or so, just for them to probably have some more leverage, push some more money back in the future years. But I mean, he's only 30. I mean, he's a solid guard. I mean, they needed some help there. But again, this is what Jacksonville does. They just hope their free agent signings work out. We'll see. Time will tell. Let's look. Allen Robinson, the LA Rams. I don't know what this spells for OBJ or Robert Woods, but they bring in Allen Robinson, 3 years, $46.5 million. Allen Robinson has lately been in that kind of top 10, top 12 range of wide receivers. Last year, he didn't do a single thing. I think a lot of that just had to do with quarterback play, how the offense was, Matt Nagy. He gets out of Chicago, joins a team like the Rams where he's got a top 10 quarterback. He's got a good receiver to complement him. He's got a great play caller. This is a good move for him, and he will thrive here. Now, what they do with OBJ, I don't know. I know that they've wanted to bring OBJ back. OBJ's wanted to go back. I've seen a report they're looking to trade Robert Woods. I want to check Twitter real quick. Make sure there's no moves. Let's see. Just more Deshaun Watson talk. Blah, 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 blah. Let's see. Yeah, so really nothing right now. I just wanted to look so far. Bengals released their center, Trey Hopkins, but they obviously signed Ted Karras. They added a couple offensive linemen in free agency. All right, yeah. I just want to make sure as I'm recording this. But great move for Al Robinson. I've seen a report they could trade Robert Woods, who's coming off an ACL injury, but he's still a solid receiver. But the Rams made a move there. Let's see who else we got. Hassan Reddick leaving the Panthers, going to the Eagles. Eagles definitely needed that on their pass rush for sure. Cincinnati made a couple moves, bringing in the center Ted Karras, bringing in Alex Kappa from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to help strengthen that interior offensive line. So they kind of get their center. They bring another guard. They'll probably go offensive line as well early in the draft because Joe Burrow was just sacked a plethora of times last year. Like I said, I'm not going to go over all these picks or signings or everything like that because there's obviously a lot. But I just wanted to go over some key ones. Austin Corbett, the Rams losing him, so they'll probably have to look at offensive line somewhere as well. Let's see who else we got. Jordan Whitehead. I think a great signing for agency for the Jets was Jordan Whitehead. The Jets haven't had that bad for agency. They've brought in some guys to help strengthen out the offensive line. Jordan Whitehead, 2 years, $14.5 million deal, leaving Tampa Bay, only 24, going on 25. It's definitely a steal for them. Casey Hayward joining the Falcons, again, going back to the Cardinals. Jordan Hicks leaving to go to the Vikings. DJ Chark going to the Lions, which they've needed. Yeah, I mean, so there's multiple other moves, but in terms of just those guys I was going over, that is who, whatchamacallit? Yeah, that is who, those are just some guys I wanted to go over. Now, going over some winners and losers of free agency, man. Going over the winners of free agency, I want to put the Chargers in there. I would like to maybe put Denver in there. The Steelers I'm putting in there. I think Baltimore can go in there. Buffalo can go in there. Who else we got here? I would like to maybe put the Jets in there. I think those teams right there, and you can probably maybe put a couple more in there that have had a nice splash so far. But I think those teams right there have approached free agency well. I think that they've definitely added to needs they need. And all those teams that I said right there are all going to be competitive teams. They're all going to be in the mix. Tampa Bay bringing back certain guys. I mean, they brought back Russell Gage. They traded for Shaq Mason. I think they've had a good free agency with Brady coming back. They bring in Logan Ryan at safety. So, even them. But, yeah, I think I like what those teams have done so far in free agency. I think all those teams will be in the mix, will be competitive. Will all be solid. And then I want to let me talk about the Arizona Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are one of the losers in free agency, man, because the Cardinals going from last year, right, just having a great start, undefeated, they kind of fall apart the second half of the season, get blown out in the wild card, the issues with Kyler Murray, and then they lose Chandler Jones, they lose Christian Kirk. The Cardinals haven't really been doing much. I don't know if it's a money thing. I don't know if they're just waiting for the market. But I definitely expect the Cardinals, they should definitely add a low-key wide receiver in the draft. Maybe take a wide receiver early as well. I think their offensive line's fine. They need help, I think, in terms of with a little bit of a pass rush. They definitely need cornerback help. They have holes, and it's not going to be enough to do in free agency. So they're going to have to carry that out through the draft. But I'm concerned a little bit. Because Kyler Murray wants a new contract. Is he going to hold out till he gets one? Will they trade him? I don't know. They have holes that there's not enough to be fixed in free agency. They're going to have to do it through the draft. And, you know, the Cardinals are just one of those franchises where they, they're not the best at drafting necessarily either. So if I'm a Cardinals fan, I'm a little concerned. I don't really understand their approach into the offseason at all. But this is what happens. So I think the Cardinals there, I think New England's a loser this free agency. They haven't really done much. They've let certain guys walk. They trade Shaq Mason. They let J.C. Jackson walk. They do bring back Devin McCourty. They haven't done anything at wide receiver. They have some other free agents out there. I think the Bears are losers too. They trade Khalil Mack. They don't really bring anybody else in. They haven't really done anything either. To kind of go from last year to this year. Nobody on offense, nobody on defense. And sure, it's always great to build through the draft. If you're a team that builds through the draft and you develop well, I mean, you look at successful teams that always have stability and everything, they draft well. And that's what you need. But at the same time, you have to kind of complement sometimes through free agency as well. They haven't done any of that. So, I don't know. NFL free agency has been awesome. It's going to keep, there's things that are going to keep happening. But those are my winners and losers so far. Losers, Bears, Cardinals, Patriots. Jacksonville, I'm not going to put them in there because I do like some of their signings. But again, it's just a freaking signing spree. You know? Winners, Steelers, Ravens, Bills, Denver, Jets. I'd put them all in there. I don't know, Dallas. I mean, I don't really, they haven't really done a whole lot in free agency either. I mean, they've done a little bit, but I wouldn't put them in loser territory. I think if Atlanta get Deshaun Watson, I'd probably say that they're a winner. Who knows if he'll get suspended or not. But I knew coming back from my trip, man, I knew that there would be a lot to talk about, a lot to dig into, to dive into. And I can go so much more in depth on these things, but I don't like to make my video, I mean, we're already going on over 40 minutes long. I don't like to make my videos too long, especially with where I'm at with my channel. But I just wanted to go over the signings. I wanted to go over who signed where, who's going where, what these mean for teams, winners and losers so far, free agency, the quarterback carousel. I wanted to go over that. And I'm excited to see the rest of the things pan out in the NFL. And as the offseason continues on, I mean, we'll still be back here covering it, everything like that. March Madness is continuing to go on. We'll talk about that. There was a big upset with Kentucky last night, losing to St. Peter's. I believe that was the name of them. One of probably a few upsets to happen. Bracket's already busted on that one. As you can see, rocking the Duke for today. Go Dookie. Go Blue Devils. But crazy NFL offseason. You love to see it. This is the best offseason I think I have seen with the NFL by far. And when you look at the landscape of trades, man, it's going to be the AFC is very loaded compared to the NFC. The AFC, I think, brings a lot of unpredictability. And I like what I'm seeing, man. I like what I am seeing. Let me transition in baseball real quick. I'm not going to talk too long on it. Baseball's kind of been a pain in the ass, I think, for everybody. But Freddie Freeman, we saw sign a huge deal with the Dodgers. This is exactly the issue that's wrong with baseball, and that was not resolved in the lockout. No salary cap, no salary floor, none of that. You just look at teams like the Dodgers, Yankees, Red Sox, spending whatever the hell they want. But this Dodgers lineup, I can't remember the last time I've seen a better lineup than this. Freddie Freeman at first. You got Chris Taylor, Trey Turner in the infield, Justin Turner, Will Smith, Cody Bellinger, Max Muncy probably as a DH, AJ Pollock, Mookie Betts. There's your lineup right there. Gavin Lux is a utility guy. How you supposed to compete with that? How are you supposed to compete with that? Even though Atlanta lost Freddie Freeman, they still have a really good team with Acuna being back, Albies, Matt Olson I thought was a good second option for them. Big power hitter. They gave him a big 8-year, $160-some million deal. I still like what they've done. Phillies, they bring in Kyle Schwarber. We saw that. That will probably help. He'll probably be a DH guy. And then you look at the Rockies bringing in a Chris Bryant, which, hey, if Chris Bryant wanted to go to the Rockies, that's one thing. But they trade Nolan Arenado just to get Chris Bryant. I don't really understand that. The Rockies, I don't really think are that close to being a winning team. But Chris Bryant wanted to play there. He wanted to play there. So you look at the NFC West. I mean, the Giants, I mean, they haven't really done anything crazy so far. Diamondbacks haven't really done anything. They added a couple relievers. Rockies, I still think they're a little ways away. Dodgers, obviously, it's unfair. Like I said, the Phillies, they add Schwarber. Braves, I still like where they're at. Miami hasn't really done a whole lot. Well, they've done a little bit. I take that back. Miami has done a little bit. NLC or the NL Central. I mean, you look at McCutchen signed with the Brewers, which as a Pirates fan is kind of hard to see. Cubs sign Andrelton Simmons, Jonathan Villar. They have a group of young guys. Like, they haven't really spent a lot right now. They brought in that Japanese outfielder, Maya Suzuki, Marcus Stroman. So they've made moves to help complement their young team, but they're still young. You look at the Yankees. Isaiah Kiner from the Rangers they bring in, make a move for. They trade Gio Estrella and Gary Sanchez over the Twins for him and Josh Donaldson. I don't know, man. The MLB free agency, it just, like, when the lockout ended, it's like, all right, great, the lockout's over, they finally agreed to a deal, we finally get baseball. That's great, right? It sucks there was nothing done with the salary cap or anything like that, but I think all of us as fans were obviously happy it was done. Nothing happened free agency for like 2 or 3 days, really. It was a friggin' sleep fest, and now certain things have happened, but it's at a point like, NFL's going crazy, you know? And it's just kind of the same old, like, oh, Dodgers loading, Yankees making a move. And it's just like, dude, like, come on. I'm happy baseball's back, obviously. I'm glad they are going to play the whole season. As a Pirate fan, I'm excited to see some of the younger guys who are coming up, see what they do, because there's some guys that are promising prospects, like O'Neal Cruz. He's ranked as a top prospect in MLB. I believe he's the number 1, number 2 Pirates prospect this year. He's a favorite to win Rookie of the Year. Roansy Contreras could possibly make his debut this year, even though, he debuted a couple times last year, but you get the point. So those are like 2 big prospects for them, which I'm excited to see. Hayes, Brian Reynolds, Marcano, blah, blah, blah. But again, it's just, as we're seeing free agency, it's just, dude, it's the same thing, Like, sure, great, like, when you see these signings, like, oh, okay, like, it's cool to see the news and stuff like that, and what teams do what, but I don't know, dude. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people with baseball, like, yes, we're glad baseball's back, but it's just, I don't know. There's still some interesting guys out there with the NFL as well. There's interesting guys out there. You still got Terron Armstead. You got Melvin Ingram. The Steelers still have some guys out there. You have, who else out there? You still got some pretty big names out there. Let's see. Let's go to available. Let's look at Star Lutulele just got released from Buffalo. Let's see who else is out there. Let's see who else is free agent. So Julio Jones, we know he was released. Bobby Wagner, Fletcher Cox is going back to the Eagles. Darius Smith still out there. Nate Solder, Jarvis Landry, Honey Badger. I'd love to see the Steelers bring him in. Terron Armstead, Stephon Gilmore, Campbell, JPP, Akeem Nicks, Joe Hayden, JC Treader, Jerry Hughes, Joe Schobert, Eddie Goldman, Lyle Collins, really solid tackle that the Cowboys released. Ndamukong Suh, Donta Hightower, Anthony Barr, Pat Pete, Jadeveon Clowney, Gronk. He'll probably go back to Tampa Bay. Cole Beasley, Billy Turner, Star Lutulele, Bryce Callahan, Kyle Van Noy, AJ Green, Jason Verrett, Jameis Winston. The list goes on and on. So there's a few really good players out there. Great players. There's a handful of solid players. There's a handful of not so bad guys. So we'll still see what happens on that. But I'm going to wrap the show up on that, guys. I wanted to come on here, talk about primarily NFL free agency because of how crazy it's been. The QB carousel, the signings, what this means, winners, losers, baseball. I know I talked about it for a few minutes, but it is what it is. I don't want to go too long on here. If I had a big audience, things like that, I could probably make a good hour and a half show on it, but I don't want to do that. So thank you each and every one of you tuning in to episode 56 of In Hindsight. Not sure when we'll be back. Probably not this weekend, but we'll for sure be back probably on Monday or Tuesday, depending on how the schedule flows. But thank you to each and every one of you. Hit the subscribe and thumbs up. Just trying to keep growing the channel. That's a big way to do it. I appreciate that for sure. Cost of no charge to subscribe. And follow me on Twitter, Nate_Heintz, Nathan_Heintz on Instagram, Facebook page, In Hindsight, to keep up with things of the channel. if you want to do that. But your guys' support means a lot. Thank you all for listening. My thoughts on free agency, me kind of going over everything like that, which I was excited to do. So thank you all very much. Enjoy your Fridays, your weekends. We'll see you back here Monday, and take care.